Hi, I'm Melissa, I write books. This is sort of the recap of the year. I don't know, I haven't actually planned this video. I've been watching people's goals recap videos, and I do want to watch my video from last year where I made my goals, because I do that, where I look at the last year and I look at the goals I made and if I hit them. But to be honest, I know I didn't. I know I did not do many of the things that I thought I would do this year. And I don't think that it turned out bad. I'm really happy with how this year turned out, but it was a rough year for me. Probably the roughest. I don't know if it was the roughest year. I think each year has different types of challenges. A few years ago, I was in sort of a burnout situation with work. I was working 90 hours a week through 2 different jobs that were both kind of burning me at both ends. And that was, I think, the first year I think that might have been the year before I started YouTube, or the first year. No, it was the first year. Or the year before. I don't remember. There was a couple years right after college where I worked a lot, and it was that was really hard. That was a hard year because I was just really exhausted and emotionally drained from working so much that. So those were challenges of other years, but I think this year was a challenge mentally, and I would say this is the first time I've really, well, I don't know if it's really the first time I've struggled with something like that, but to this degree. The first half of this year, I don't really remember much of it, to be honest. I remember things I did, but a lot of it was spent trying to figure out what was going on mentally with me. And I still was doing things. I still was working towards certain goals, but I don't know. But because that was how I spent the first half of the year, was sort of regulating and figuring out the changes that I was going through and how to manage that. It kind of threw off the whole year, but I think I don't know. It feels weird to say it was in a good way, because it was objectively really a rocky time, and it is still I'm only a year into this, whatever it even is. And so it's not I've perfectly healed everything and I'm fully stable all the time. If you want more information about this, I was vlogging the whole time, basically. I just had I had a panic attack early in 2025, and it took me that was the first time I'd really had something like that, where I didn't know, and it affected me for a long time. I needed to figure out what's going on and how do I handle this situation. I let go of a lot of goals that I had made for the year, and I don't know. I go back and forth about whether I'm glad I did that or not, because at the time I needed to. I needed to just release the pressure of things, but I kind of think it would have been helpful if I kept some of them, to be honest, because it would have given me something else to focus on. But regardless, I was doing the best I could at the time. Yeah, so I guess that's just my preface, 5 minutes into this video. I'm going to watch through my video from last year, and I will probably screen share some things. When I filmed this also, it had not happened yet, but sort of the end of 2024 into the beginning of 2025 kind of built up to this happening before I really started dealing with it. So it's kind of hard to watch these videos from this time period, because I know that in a few weeks what would be happening. And so it's just hard to kind of watch, but it's a shorty.
Hello. I know what I sound like. I'm not sick anymore.
I was sick. I was sick for a month. I was sick for pretty much all of December last year, and it didn't cause my panic attack, but it contributed.
Anyway, today we are talking about my 2025 goals, mostly writing. I'll probably throw in some other ones too. If you want to see how last year went, I had a video, my 2024 writing wrapped, which kind of goes over my video where I made the goals for 2024, like this video will be. So if you're seeing this in 2026 or at the end of 2025, hello, I hope you're not sick. I hope everything's going well.
It is going well. It's going well now. I feel like we feel this need to categorize, like, am I doing better than I was before? Am I doing worse? Or was the year better? Or was it good? Or was it bad? And like, I'm feeling the urge, the need to do that, to be like, well, I'm feeling good now, but I was feeling bad. And like, this year was bad, or this year was good, or this year had, and the truth is, like, this year was a lot of things. It was a lot of growth. Like, I think I had more growth this year than ever before, like mentally, like the skills I've learned, and like the mental journey, and like the vulnerability, I think, like the having to like rebuild confidence with yourself. Because I've been such, like, before this happened, this version of Alyssa right here, I mean, there were small things that shook me, and like, I don't want to romanticize the before of who I was before this happened, because like, I'm sure I had problems. I know I did. But like, in my head, there was nothing that could happen that could shake me. Like, I'm kind of back there now, actually, but I feel like it's more honest now, where it's like, I know now that no matter what happens, I can handle it, and that I can find resources, and that there are skills that can help. But at that time, like, I was somebody who was like, I don't need therapy. I don't need to be on medication. I would not be that person. And not as a judgment towards other people, but like, I had just genuinely felt like there was nothing that could happen in my life that could cause me to need that. And so I've grown a lot in like having to be vulnerable and like realize like I need to get help, and like I need to get the resources from other people in order to make myself well. I don't know. I think I'm proud of that. Like, I'm proud of growing into a vulnerability, but it's hard and it sucks. Like, I hate having to ask for help and to like admit that I'm not doing well. Like, I hate that. I'm happy that I was able to do that, because I'm very much not, like, if I could have gained that skill without having this year go the way it did, I would. It would be foolish to think that like no hard things are ever going to come up, or that there's going to be no hard seasons or years. Like, it would be silly to think that. And so I am happy that when one of those years came, that I handled it the way I did. Now, can we get to the writing goals, please? Oh my gosh.
Really an enthralling video, I can tell. So I'm going to start with just some like big picture. I'm going to say dreams and not goals, because these are some things that some of them I have control over, some of them I do not. If we get to the end of 2025 and these have happened, like, these are like the big picture where I want to be going, right? So the first one is get a literary agent and maybe a book deal. Well, that's my first one. My next one is to do another triathlon. That one I think has a little bit more substance to it. And I'll kind of go into more of specific goals rather than these big dreams in a minute. So just hold on, okay? Just hold on. My YouTube goal is to get to either like 5 to 10,000 subscribers. At the time of recording, I believe I have about 2,100 subscribers. And given the rate that I am growing at this moment, I think that 5,000 is like maybe possible, maybe 10,000, that would be wild. But here's the thing is I feel like all of these kind of connect. Like, I think if I got a literary agent, like, we all know we are not all blind. Like, obviously that video would do well. And I would also have sort of a more to share, you know, or maybe less to share. About, like, that would kind of qualify me to talk about more things that could potentially bring in more people. So I don't know.
Okay, so none of those things happened. I did not do a triathlon. I did not get a literary agent. And I did not get to 5,000 subscribers. I'm at like 4,100 subscribers. I don't know. My YouTube has been really weird recently, but I don't know. I think that just kind of happens. I don't know, because my engagement is really great. Like, my views and my engagement is really great, but like my subscriber growth is really kind of all over the place, but it is what it is. Like, it's not something I can control. I think I have the same big picture dreams. Like, I would love to do all those things again. I actually think that the triathlon will happen this year. That was one of those that I kind of put away when I started to get a lot of anxiety, because I was like, I can't do an open water swim. 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 Like, I can't do an open wa And honestly, at that point, I probably could not have. But now one thing I've picked up in the last year, it kind of fits in, is I have been lap swimming so much. Like, I lap swim probably 4 times a week. And I'm now, like, swimming double the distance of the triathlon sprint. It's not the full triathlon, but it's like the sprint triathlon, which is what I would do. Distance, like, 4 times a week. Like, I'm swimming, like, 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters. Whatever the metrics are for that, 4 times a week. So it's like, I know that the swimming is possible. And that was what last year I kind of, like, I was like, I don't know if I can open water swim, because open water swimming is very anxiety inducing. So I feel like I could really only do that if I really trained for it and was like could do multiple times the distance easily, which I can. We'll see for sure, but I do kind of plan on doing a triathlon this year again, and I would love to get a literary agent, obviously. So that did not happen. I did query a new book, and then I ended up, I don't know, I think I'm gonna touch on this later. So let's just keep watching, and then I'll kind of go into what did end up happening this year, because none of it was on this list.
The goals, the things that I will do to make that happen is, this is all under the assumption that I don't get an agent with the book that I'm currently finishing up querying right now. These goals are under the assumption that I do not have an agent from the wedding season. These goals, I would like to query Gas Station, which does have a title. I'm not gonna share it right now. I probably will soon. I've announced I've like shared it randomly other places, so you can figure it out if you want to. But that is my goal, to get that query ready in Q1, which is the first 3 months of the year. So sort of similar to last year, I would like to send a query in March or April.
So I think I started querying in May. So technically I didn't make that one, but given my Q1 of last year, that is a freaking miracle that I started querying in May. Should I have started querying in May? Let's move on.
I don't know about that one. I just lost a week that I was hoping to get a lot done, so we'll see. I don't know where the wind is going to blow.
Oh, the wind is about to blow, girl. You're about to be in a tornado. But you can do it. You will get through the tornado. It'll be fine.
But that is... The other one is with Project Sunshine, which I drafted in November. I would like to do the same thing that I did with Gas Station this year. So I would like to do a draft, another draft, send it to beta readers or critique partners, another draft with that feedback, and then to critique partners again. And so kind of getting it to a draft 4 or a draft 3. It's kind of arbitrary. It's kind of silly to make a goal like that, because you just don't know what a book needs. And also I just don't know where I'm going to be at. Like, obviously, if I got an agent like that, those edits would take priority, right? So, but essentially I make those goals because I know at the pace at which I usually work, and that's like a challenging enough goal to get me to sit down every day and do the work, but it's not so far away that it's like a burnout goal, So it's just something I like to have on the map, right? Get through at least 3 drafts of Sunshine, right? And then in November, outline and draft a new book. I would like to actually outline this book earlier in the year rather than like sort of pants like I did this year. That's kind of my plans for writing. So working on 3 books, 1 getting to query stage, 1 getting to a draft 3 or 4, and 1 getting a first draft.
So that didn't happen at all. So I queried Gas Station. All's Fair in Love and Robbery. It's a book I'm actually working on right now. LOL. Okay. But what ended up, as I kind of described, I've had been in this cycle with a few books at that point where I got a book query ready. Like within a year, I would get a book, start querying a book, and then get the bulk of revisions of another book done, and then start the first draft of another one. So I'd work on 3 books, one of them finishing up, one of them starting, and one of them doing the bulk of the editing. And then I had done that for like 3 years. Like that with the first book I started querying, and with the next book. And so I figured that this cycle would repeat again, and that I would just keep on doing that forever and ever and ever, amen, until I got a literary agent. And that cycle broke this year, and I'm actually really happy it did. I ended up shelving Project Sunshine. So I worked on, I had 40,000 words of a draft 2. I ended up starting that draft in June, which was later than I anticipated because of all of the aforementioned, like the querying took longer, and then I was like just unwell. So I needed more time. And also Project Sunshine just like wasn't, I ended up not really liking it very much. I don't know, I still like the plot, but like it felt like I was trying to shove too many things together, and the way I drafted it, I think from the beginning I didn't really like that book very much. I enjoyed writing it because I enjoy writing, and there were certain elements that I liked, and I think I would maybe come back to it, but what ended up happening is in early spring, I applied to go to this writing retreat, the Good Lit Writing Retreat, and I got accepted, and that was something I went to in August when I was about halfway through Project Sunshine. I applied with some material from Gas Station, and that's what I got in. And at this retreat, it was really transformational for my writing because it was with a lot of like-minded writers, but also there were editors there, like Big Five published authors, like, you know, it was like a very transformational experience, like one-on-one with these people like all week, you know, and not one-on-one, but in group settings, like having happy hours and lunches and sessions. And like, it was a lot of really good feedback. And during that time, I had a meeting with an editor. That sounds very formal. We were just chatting about my book, about Gas Station that I was querying. And I was describing how it was dual POV and how I was querying it as a thriller. And by the end of the conversation, she was like, no, this is a romance. Like, you're writing a romance. And I go into more detail on this in a few videos that I made over the summer, so you can check those out if you want more details. But I realized, like, I am a romance writer and not a thriller writer. And so with that shift, I worked on Project Sunshine for a few weeks after that, trying to turn it into a romance. And that one was like, really, it is more of a thriller the way I had been writing it. And it just didn't work as a romance at that time. Like, if I wanted it to be a romance, I would need to restructure it from the beginning to be a better romance. And so because of that, I shelved it very off the cuff. I decided one day, I was like, I don't want to work on this anymore. Now that I know this new, like this reframing of a genre, I had been writing it, but now that I know what I'm actually writing, I want to just start fresh. And so I started working on a fantasy project, which is not in any of this goal setting that I did last year because I don't know, but I had sort of been outlining this fantasy project in the spring because I just needed something fresh. And like, I read a lot of romantasy. And so I was like, let me just outline one. Like, I want to do that. And so I start like from August, September, October of this year, I wrote a first draft of the first book of a fantasy duology. And I had so much fun writing that book. It was really exactly what I needed. I think it's like the best first draft I've ever written. This is bold. I haven't actually read it. I feel really good about it. I'm going to write the second book first. Like, I'm going to treat them as though they're one book in terms of drafting them and then editing them and revising and all of that. And beta readers, like, I'm going to do that as one because they're shorter. Like, this first book's only like 70,000 words, which is pretty small for a romantasy. So I'm going to hopefully soon start working on book 2. So that's what I did. And in the meantime, since I was like, oh wait, I'm a romance writer, I applied for the Smooch Pit writing mentorship program with the book I was querying, and I got into that. So I stopped querying, and I have been working with my mentor on edits for this book, which you've been seeing for the last couple of months. I'm almost done, but am I really? Never. So that's what ended up happening instead. And I really am, like, specifically August, I feel like was a real turning point. I've had finally got to a nice place with the medicine I was on. So I felt more regulated in that way. Like, I felt like I had really built the skills. That does not mean it's been clear paths, sunshine, rainbows since August, but August was a real shift for me, I think. Also working on that fantasy book. And I don't want to say that, like, all of the year until August was terrible. Like, there were definitely good memories, like going on that writing retreat with my friends. And there were lots of things that I did that brought joy. Like, it did not steal all of my joy from the first half of the year, but it was definitely a shift of, like, day to day mentally feeling better. Not all the time, but most of the time. Can't expect yourself to feel back to normal, you know, and I don't even know if I would want to go back to feeling exactly how I was feeling before this. Anyway, but that's besides the point. That's what ended up happening with my writing this year. And so I've been November, December working on this edit of Gas Station again. It's just crazy that I'm still working on this book, but that's what ended up happening. And I think it was really a year of growth. And like, I feel like I've really found the genre, and I'm sitting well in the genre now that I'm actually writing. And I feel like the next book I write in this genre, I think it's going to be night and day. Like, it's going to be so much easier to write. I say this all having not even started, but I really have a feeling that the next thing I write in this romance, high action romance genre is going to be like, it's going to feel really good writing it. And it's not going to feel like edged with confusion of like, what is this supposed to be? Like, trying to force it into a thriller, but also wanting to do all these things that I love to do, like humor and romance. Like, it's going to be easier, is my hope. But I haven't started writing another book yet, except for the fantasy book I guess I wrote a whole draft of. But yeah, that's how I'm writing with this year.
I have, one of my goals is to read 50 books.
I don't know how many books I read. I have literally no idea. I haven't been using Goodreads, so I have no idea. But I have been reading a little bit, but not nearly as much as I want to. I read a lot of, oh, that's such a blur, actually. I have no idea how many. I could not tell you how many books I read. Because in Q1, when I was struggling, I was listening to a lot of audiobooks doing puzzles. Like, I would listen to audiobooks and do puzzle for, like, to fill the space, because I couldn't really handle life. So I was just listening to a lot of audiobooks. I have no idea how many I read. Oh my gosh, I only have 4 minutes left on this camera. That's unfortunate. Okay, and then this fitness goal was that I wanted to do a 5K and a triathlon again. And I did neither of those things, so we can just move on. That's funny. The goal is to learn. And I feel like I really did that this year, not through books, but through like being in mentorship programs and like applying for things and doing things. And I think that part of that is the vulnerability piece. Like, I had to become so vulnerable in my mental health, and I had to do so much shifting of like how I viewed myself, that I think a part of that, like, before I was like, no, I know everything. I am good. I can figure everything out myself. And like, mentorship programs are for other people, which is like so crazy to think. But it wasn't like I was consciously thinking that, but I think it was an unconscious belief of like, no, I am capable of doing everything myself. And I don't need mentorship program, and I don't need to go on a retreat, and I don't need to do any of that. I can just do it myself. Like, I'm capable of doing it myself. And I think having to let go and be vulnerable in one area kind of let me be more vulnerable in others, and like realize, like, wait a minute, realize that I'd been feeling that way, because I didn't know that, but also realize there's a lot for me to learn, you know? Okay, so that's basically the end of the goals. Let's talk about my goals for this year. I don't really know. I think because of how the first quarter half of this year went, I'm almost nervous to make goals, because I'm like, well, what if something happens and I feel bad again? Like, what if somehow, like, this is not a rational thought, this is like an anxiety OCD thought. What if me saying, oh, I'm gonna make a goal, like, stops the goal from happening, or like makes it so that something bad happens at the beginning of the year again? Like, I'm holding on to a lot of like fear almost that, like, because it was bad a year ago in January and February, like, that means that this February is going to feel the same way. And that's just like really not true at all. And so I should make goals, because I need to rebel against that, because there's not like, I don't cause that to happen. Like, there's no world in which how I felt last year happens exactly that way, because now I have the skills and the tools and the resources to handle it before it gets to that point. And so it just would not happen again. But I feel like, comment down below if you would feel similar, of like, it hasn't been even been a year yet since this has all started to happen. And so I'm worried, like, oh, at a year mark, maybe it'll come back. But nobody told me that. I don't need to think that. I'm actually planning to like have a little buy a cake or something on the anniversary of when all of that happened. Cause I do feel like I'm gonna know, like, I already know what day it was in the year. And so if I don't like I'm gonna be proud of how far I've come within a year, because really it is night and day. So here are some intentions for the next year. Hi, Alyssa, in 2026, or at the end of 2025. Yeah, at the end of 2026. I will be 26. It's actually crazy. It's my golden birthday. I hope you're doing well. I really do. I think you are. Anyway, the main projects I'm focusing on right now, and of course, again, this is given I don't have an agent, but like, you guys, I don't know. I'm not going to say I have a good feeling, because I had a really good feeling last year and that did not pan out. So who knows? I think there's a decent chance I get one, but there's also a big chance I don't. It's probably a bigger chance I don't get one. But anyway, my big 3 projects I'm going to be spending the bulk of 2026 working on is the second book of the duology that I'm working on, the fantasy duology. So I'm going to work on writing that in Q1. I'm also going to outline and draft and finish, LOL, a new high action romance. I have been thinking about it already. I have concepts, and I have tropes, which I know people don't like to write around tropes. I wouldn't even call it tropes. I have characters, and I have like a sort of setup and structure. It's going to be around dating apps. Yeah, it's gonna be a high action romance, high action rom-com with a lot of thriller elements. And I have concepts, and I'm going to hopefully in the early part of the year outline that and then write it. And I also am going to I would really love to get that book query ready, because if I don't have an agent, like, then the next time I'll be querying is 2027, which is fine, but that seems crazy that I wouldn't be querying a new book next year. But I think that is just kind of the position I'm in, because I'm not going to query my fantasy books. Am I going to say this? I think I'm going to self-publish them. Not next year, because I will not have time to go through the whole process. But I think at this point I'm leaning towards hybrid publishing, which hybrid publishing is actually something different. But being a hybrid author, in that I publish some books under a pen name in a genre, and then I still go for traditional publishing. So when I say I'm going to self-publish, I'm not going to self-publish my thrillers or high action romances. I'm going to self-publish, or my goal right now, my plan right now, I don't know, is to self-publish fantasy under a pen name. And I don't know when that will happen, but I would really love to get the bulk of edits and revisions and beta reading and everything done on the fantasy duology this year, so that I could publish in 2027. Like, I really do want to do that, but I also really want to get a new high action romance that I can query, to be query ready. So I want to do the bulk of edits on 2 different books. Three different books, actually, because it's a whole duology. So that is so unrealistic, and there's actually no way I could possibly do that, given the pace that I have been working currently. Who knows how it's going to go? Because honestly, as it stands, the fantasy book's feeling pretty solid. I have a pretty solid outline. I don't think there's a ton of changes I need to do. LOL. I don't see it being it's a simpler plot. It's not a thriller. It's not like a huge world building. It's I wouldn't say very simple, but it's a romantasy. It's a romantasy duology that's very focused on a couple. And so it's not going into crazy world building. Like, there is a magic system, but it's a soft magic system. It does have rules. It does, but it's not a political Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, Brandon Sanderson. I'm not doing that. It's a simple story, sort of. I don't know. LOL. The more I write it, the crazier it gets. But so who knows? Like, maybe I can do all of that. Maybe I can really outline and dig into all the problems of a high action romance before I write it. And then I don't have to go and do 17 drafts. But I only have 5 minutes left on this card. And I'm so far behind on editing that I literally cannot cut anything from this card, because I need to edit it all. Anyway, that's kind of what I'm going to be working on. I do want to do a triathlon again this year. I've been swimming, and I want to keep swimming. I love swimming, you guys. It makes me feel so good. I want to keep going to therapy. I want to feel like I want to not live in fear, and I want to feel capable, but not in a prideful way. I want to feel capable in that, like, I'm capable of asking for help. I'm capable of leaning into the resources and the people around me. I'm capable of handling any emotion or feeling or anxiety that comes up, because I can lean on other things and other skills. And I want to feel capable of my life, because I am, and you are too. And I think that's my word of the, this is a word of the year, apparently. My word of the year is capable. And I am already. So, YouTube wise, I would love to hit 7,000 subscribers this year. 5 to 10 was crazy to say that, but I think 5 to 7. I would be happy with 5. I just want to grow. I just want to feel engaged. I think I'm going to do something this year where I don't do daily videos. I'm going to probably do daily videos in November, but like have maybe 1 week a month where I do like a week of daily videos or something like that. Let me know if that's something you would want, because I do love to do daily videos, but I can't do it all the time. I want to visit my friends. I want to go on writing retreats. I want to write things that I really love, and I want to make choices that I feel confident in, and I want to feel open to whatever 2026 brings and not decide what it's going to bring. I would love for it to bring an agent. I would love for it to bring a book deal. I would love for it to bring me really close to having a finished fantasy duology. But I'm also open to whatever else it might bring, whatever story it might bring, whatever friendship it might bring, whatever opportunities and people and industry professionals, which is also people. And I've set up some spaces and some systems in my home and my life to prepare me for that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that's where I'm going to leave you for now. So I didn't really accomplish any of my goals. I did query, but not in the timeline that I expected. I did not work on the projects I expected to. I ended up working on things I thought I was done with. I am really happy with who I have become. Not even who I've become, but like how I have handled the challenges of this year and how I feel. I'm feeling hopeful about how 2026 might go. Feeling a little hesitant. I'm like, don't do anything crazy, but also like I can handle crazy. I would prefer not to. I'm choosing to feel excited for what the new year might bring. Comment down below a firework emoji.